Joining us in studio for another edition of the Curator's Corner. Very pleased to have with us Senior Curator of the National Firearms Museum, Mr. Phil Schreier. And Phil, thanks for coming in studio.
It's my pleasure as always.
And we love it when you bring the firearms, some of the firearms from the National Firearms Museum. And tell us about this particular pistol.
Well, this pistol here has turned out to be one of my little personal favorites in 9mm. It's called the Polish Radom, and it was actually designed and produced beginning in 1935 in Radom, Poland. That's how it gets its name. And they made about 40,000 of these before September 1st, 1939. And that's when the German Blitzkrieg crossed their eastern border and pretty much wiped them out pretty quick. From 1939 until May of, till the end of the war in Europe, they continued to produce these guns under German supervision. Actual German, the Germans took over their factories and just made them continue to crank these out and issued them to their own troops.
Oh, wow.
So there's it's a neat pistol. It comes from World War II. It's a great 9mm. It looks a lot like the venerable Colt 1911. Handles and feels a lot like the 1911. Internally, it's completely different, takes down differently, things of that nature. But I found it to be surprisingly accurate when I shoot mine. It's a wonderfully accurate gun. The mass of the gun isn't so heavy that it has a lot of recoil. 9mm isn't going to be a barn burner anyway when it goes off, not like a .45. It's a very pleasant little gun. As far as collectors are concerned, there are a number of different types and variants that make it very interesting and fun to collect. The pre-war models that have the Polish Eagle stamped on them are very desirable. Then when the Germans took over, they started stamping everything with Waffenamts, meaning Reich acceptance marks.
Oh.
So you'll see these little swastika eagles and stuff like that, and numbers and codes stamped in the frame and the receiver. The grips change as well during the time, and they also messed around with a few different lever and slide catches on the gun.
So this particular pistol, is this pre-Blitzkrieg or post-Blitzkrieg?
Well, let's take a look and find out. I believe that this is yeah, there are a number of little Waffenamps right there. So that means this is post-Blitzkrieg. This is done under German production.
And this is the Waffenmark right here?
Right here at the very end, there's a little eagle. Don't know if you can get a good tight shot. Let me hold it up there.
That is a small...
There
we go, and right there at the very end.
Right at the very end of the slide there, right there, yeah.
Wow. So what is the more desirable pistol for collectors, the pre-World War II model or the German model?
I would think, and I don't know the prices off the top of my head, but I would think the fact that there were only 49,000 made before World War II started, with the Polish Eagle on them, that would be the most desirable model. The Germans, there are 3 different types of the Radom made during the German occupation. And those, obviously, because anything that has a Waffenamt on it brings a premium these days, are also quite costly and valuable.
Okay. Now, do you know how the museum acquired this particular firearm?
On this particular piece, I don't.
Okay.
I just know that, like so many hundreds of thousands of World War II guns that are in this country, they were brought here by returning GIs who souvenired and captured them. And, of course, most GIs in World War II wanted a Luger. It's even a major part of the storyline in the movie Band of Brothers. You know, they're trying to get a Luger for their kid brother, you know, to bring back. But with the Radom, you know, they're looking at a gun that's almost a Colt clone. So it might not have been as desirable as the others.
All right, so is this firearm on display at the National Firearms Museum?
It is. It's in our World War II gallery. It's in, I believe, case 62. or thereabouts in that neighborhood of the World War II gallery of the museum. And that's open, of course, 7 days a week.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you guys still have the extended hours on the weekends?
We do. We're open till 7 on Saturdays and till 5 o'clock during the regular week.
Fantastic. Phil, thank you so much for coming in for another edition of the Curator's Corner.
As always, it's a pleasure.